If this is your first time with us on this program, we talk to a variety of people: entrepreneurs, advisors, industry leaders, investors, economic experts. All of them are not only just solving a market problem to make a profit, but they're also solving a social problem to make an impact. And they are questioning the assumption that there's just one bottom line in business and in investments. Today, I'll be talking with David Lids of Streetwell. But before we get into our conversation with him and the good work he is doing in the Baltimore area, we got to hit the balance sheet, the assets, liabilities, debts, and investments. All right, in the assets column, there was a really great interview in the Main Street Journal with Elias Krim. Elias Krim founded a group called Solidarity Hall around 2012 to discuss what he calls a third way in economics, which is neither capitalist nor state socialist, but rather the economy of people, the human scale economy, including informal economies. He describes a third way as the economy for people, the human scale economy, including the informal economy, and is the old original pre-capitalist economy. It's pretty cool. Krim is particularly enthusiastic about the idea of importing the foreign model of social co-ops into the U.S., which are primarily created to deliver different forms of social care at high quality and low cost. Social co-ops, like worker co-ops, are worker-owned and democratically managed, but they are multi-stakeholder and can include things like volunteers, family members, community members. And while there are no full-blown social co-op models in the U.S. currently, there are opportunities for investors to find co-op opportunities with a modest rate of return for investors, but also a social rate of return, especially in their own communities. Krim definitely acknowledged that there are some challenges in finding listings of investment-ready co-ops, and many of them are using crowdfunding. But what's cool is that Krim is about to begin a social co-op academy to educate people in collaboration with this group, the Rocky Mountain Employee Ownership Center, covering topics such as the model overview, advantages, financing, business foundation, and experiences of practitioners in certain care sectors and public policy implications. All right, next in the liabilities column. So last week, a delegation traveled thousands of miles to tell the leadership of Wall Street's biggest banks to stop lending money to Petro Peru, which is Peru's state-owned oil company. The company's relentless pursuit of oil and gas, they say, is threatening the lives and livelihoods of local communities and destroying the world's third largest forest carbon sink, which is, very important to the Amazon rainforest. They say it's edging closer to an irreversible tipping point. Indigenous communities inhabit one of the most intact and biodiverse areas of the planet in the northern Peruvian Amazon, which is crucial for the future of a lot of different ecosystems on the planet. The relentless pursuit of oil and gas by Petro Peru is threatening the lives and livelihoods of local communities. The delegation traveled to the U.S. to tell the leadership of Wall Street's biggest banks to stop lending money to Petro Peru. Citi and Goldman Sachs were the only banks that they actually got to meet with face-to-face to hear the delegation's case, while JP Morgan Chase had agreed to meet but then canceled just before it was scheduled to take place. Petro Peru is reportedly considering arranging a new $1 billion bond as it needs an additional $2.2 billion to survive, creating this pressure to drill for more and more oil. Petro Peru is deeply in debt to other banks and is facing financial collapse as those loans come due unless it can maximize its oil production and secure new financing. All right, in the debts column, I want to talk about Connecticut has launched a student debt relief program for healthcare workers. So a new program is launching in Connecticut to tackle student loan debt and recruit and retain healthcare providers. Certain medical professionals can apply to receive tens of thousands of dollars of student debt relief. The program targets providers working in primary care, dental, mental health care, and in other underserved areas of the state. Future nurses and physicians assistants at Quinnipiac University are preparing for the workforce amid soaring costs of medical education. The program aims to combat worker shortages and the burnout in the wake of the pandemic, providing $13.5 million in federal funding. The program requires a commitment to work or already working in the designated areas of need in Connecticut for 2 years, with full-time providers receiving $50,000 for student loan repayments and part-time professionals being able to receive $25,000. The program can help pay off private debt and is seen as a win-win for students, professionals, and patients. And remember, in order to combat the debt crisis, the Mindful Marketplace is actually offering all of our listeners with a free customized report on how you can best eliminate personal and business debt based on what you're already doing and giving you the information on the debt you already have. Lots of families are able to use this report to eliminate all of their debt, including mortgages, in 9 years or less without spending any additional money. You can get free from debt by going to mindfulmarketplaceshow.com to get your free personalized debt report. Lastly, in the investments column, so there's a lot of talk right now about the student protests and divestment. So I figured we'd take just a couple minutes just to answer the question really quick. What is divestment? There are lots of articles about this. I felt like this Vox one did a pretty good job of giving an overview. Divestment is essentially reversing an investment. And the goal of divestment movements generally is generated social and political pressure on the companies that are the targets of divestment. So right now, the students are actually across the country are making some specific demands around this, seeking to focus their efforts on divesting from major weapons manufacturers that universities have already invested in, ensuring that their universities no longer accept research funding from, say the military or weapons producers, or ending academic partnership with the institutions they want to divest from. Divestment has been a tactic embraced by protesters in previous student movements, opposing South African apartheid regime and fossil fuel companies contributing to climate change. Those calls for divestment have had varying degrees of success. To what degree on how you define success in those terms, either financial or in political impact. Current calls for divestment from Israel are an outgrowth of the broader boycott, divest, sanctions movement, or BDS movement, which originated in 2005 and was inspired by the movement to divest from South African apartheid. The BDS movement has called on banks, local councils, churches, pensions funds, and universities to, quote, withdraw investment from the state of Israel and all Israel and international companies that sustain Israeli apartheid. All right, that is the balance sheet.